Hey people, welcome back to the channel. This is a story in which Naruto meets Kurama in the land of waves and they have a mutual friendship. In this story Naruto shifts toward his mother's side as a Uzumaki seal master. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video. Leave a comment if you want to suggest fanfic. Check the description for credits and support the creator of the story. So let us begin. Chapter 48. Onwards, to Kumo, Rasengan. Kaden. Naruto and Neji were at it again. Neji had found some way to strengthen his own Kaden and now he was asking Naruto to, once again, test its strength with his Rasengan. Like the previous times, an explosion followed, enveloping Naruto and Neji in a cloud of smoke. When the smoke cleared, both genin were facing each other, not having given ground to the other. Hey, so you can withstand the Rasengan now. What did you change this time? Asked Naruto. As you and Hinata-sama have been working on chakra nature manipulation, so have I. However, I possess the nature of my clan, Earth. By adding Earth chakra to my Kaden, I have been able to increase the power of my defense. Judging by that last attack, I would say my Kaden is now on par with your Rasengan, said Neji. Naruto just smirked. Now Sasuke. If you would, I would like to test my defense against your Chidori as well. Sasuke stepped forward from the tree he was leaning against and nodded at Neji. Ready? Sasuke asked, forming the seals for Chidori. Neji nodded and Sasuke ran at Neji, his jutsu active. Chidori. Kaden. The two attacks collided, but Sasuke's Chidori sliced through Neji's defense like butter. If it wasn't for the reflexes that he had gained over the past month from training with Kakashi, he wouldn't have been able to cancel the jutsu in time as he himself collided with Neji and the two were sent tumbling across the ground. Nisan. Hinata ran to her cousin's side, hoping nothing serious had been done. That was a little too close, said Sasuke, trying to peel Ino off of him, who had come running with Hinata. Yes. It appears my assumption was correct, stated Neji. Assumption? Asked Sasuke. The chakra I was using for the Kaden was earth-based. I wanted to test it against a lightning-based attack to see how well it withstood. I was afraid that being at an elemental disadvantage, my Kaden would prove ineffective, and I was correct, said Neji. Your Chidori, a jutsu of equal power as Naruto's Rasengan, bested my improved Kaden due to the elemental advantage. I believe my defense would work against lower lightning jutsu, but something like the Chidori, well, I think we all know. It appears as if you still have some work to do, said Naruto. So it does, if I truly wish to make the Kaden an ultimate defense, said Neji. Although I thank you and Sasuke for your help. Hey Hinata, you want to go work on that new wind jutsu now? Hinata nodded to Naruto's question and the two of them went off to their own separate corner of the training ground that the entire Konoha 12 were at. Damn it, where is that lazy sensei? Asked Sakura. She was waiting for Kakashi for a good hour now after the time that he said he would show. In reality, she shouldn't have been surprised. This is Kakashi we're talking about. If you're waiting for him, expect to be waiting another hour or two, especially now that he's got. Sasuke and Sakura just shivered at the thought, still unable to get the image of that night out of their heads. Yeah, I shouldn't be surprised, but there is just something I've been dying to ask him, said Sakura. Sasuke looked on with a little interest. You remember that day after Naruto told us that he had wind chakra and Kakashi tested my chakra for the fire nature. You want to learn a fire jutsu, don't you? Responded Sasuke as he walked over towards, well Sakura really wasn't sure. Yeah. I've been studying medical jutsu for about 2 months now and while I'm progressing fast, I don't have any combat applications for it yet. I was hoping Kakashi-sensei might be able to teach me some sort of fire jutsu that might be enough to get me through these exams, said Sakura. To her bewilderment, Sasuke tossed Sakura a stick. What's this for? Fire jutsu training. Mold chakra into your hands and superheat it. Once you can ignite the stick on fire, you'll be ready to learn a fire jutsu or two, explained Sasuke. Really? Asked Sakura in disbelief. Yep, replied Sasuke. In fact, once you get that stick ignited, I might even show you one of mine. Ino observed the whole event, completely dumbfounded. Sasuke, do you think you could show me something? Asked Ino, hoping to get in on Sasuke's, I'll help you, train. Nope, replied Sasuke before walking away. Ino got a bit mad before turning to Sakura. Okay, spill it. What did you do? Billboard brow, shouted an angry Ino. Surprisingly, Sakura wasn't fazed. In fact, she laughed a little. Ino, I'm not the silly little fangirl who always fought with you back in the academy. I've realized that being like that has hindered my training as a ninja and I decided to give up on being a silly little fangirl. I'm now taking my training seriously and it's not to impress Sasuke or anyone, it's to prove to myself that I really can become strong, lectured Sakura. I don't get it. You're playing at something. I'm not going to let you win Sasuke with whatever tricks you're playing. Declared Ino before storming off to find Sasuke. Sakura sighed. This was going to be harder than she hoped. Let her go for now. She'll come around to see eventually, said Tenten, placing a hand on Sakura's shoulder. At the same time, she flicked a kunai away, knocking an apple off the top of Neji's head. And I know this is a little late, but it's good to see that you've decided to take your training seriously now instead of be a silly little fangirl. Yeah, I know. I just wish I could get through to Ino. She was my best friend until I let this whole little Sasuke competition get in our way and I just want her back as my friend. But until she learns that the whole fangirl demeanor won't get her anything, then I'm afraid that won't happen, said Sakura. Futon. Great breakthrough. Everyone there felt a big gust tear through the training ground, nearly tearing some of the lighter ones from their feet. Wow. That was great, Hinata, shouted Naruto. Everyone sent the poor girl a look and she resorted to hiding herself behind a grinning Naruto. Such a shame, said a voice coming onto the scene. A Hyuga who has to resort to ninjutsu to overcome her many shortcomings, pathetic. Everyone's attention was turned to see that Hyuga Shinji had arrived. Both Neji and Naruto shot the newcomer a glare. And why is an oh-so-great Hyuga gracing us with his presence, responded Naruto. I've come to train with my team, isn't that why you're here as well? Asked Shinji. He walked over towards Ino, who was busy stalking Sasuke at the time. A fangirl and a fatass, it's a miracle as to how they even made it past the first round of the last exam. As he passed Sasuke, he shot Sasuke a disgusted look. Uchiha. Hyuga, responded Sasuke. Since the beginning of the village, there was always a rivalry between the Hyugas and the Uchihas over who had the stronger dojutsu. However, after the Uchiha massacre, that rivalry pretty much died with the clan and even Sasuke didn't seem too into the Great Dojutsu rivalry, as it was called in the early days of the village. Then again, he hadn't had his Sharingan for that long and his mind was focused on other things. Also, the only two Hyuga he came into regular contact with were Hinata and Neji, who he both found, at the very least, tolerable. Unfortunately, Shinji was looking to revive the dojutsu rivalry as there was now an Uchiha in Konoha who wielded the Sharingan. Kaden. Great Fireball Jutsu. Sakura shouted before unleashing the fire chakra she had gathered in her lungs. A small flame erupted from her mouth followed by smoke as she started coughing. Not bad for a first try, responded Sasuke. It had taken 4 days for Sakura to get that stupid stick to light on fire. In her defense, it wasn't the only thing she was working on. It's pretty much what I did for my first attempt at it. Yeah, but you were 7, had maybe a quarter of the chakra I have now and control worse than Naruto, retorted Sakura. Well then, give it another try. It took me a week before I got it after my first try. If what you're saying is correct, you should be able to do it by the end of the day, said Sasuke, trying to give her a bit of encouragement. Sakura spent the rest of the day trying to get that one jutsu down until, Kaden, Great Fireball Jutsu. She did it. Sakura began jumping for joy until she finally collapsed from chakra exhaustion, forcing Sasuke to carry her back to her house. On the way there, Ino managed to spot the two. What? How dare you billboard brow? That should be me on Sasuke's back, shouted Ino. Sakura was pretty sure she heard the shouts and couldn't help it as her sweat dropped and she sighed. However, on the inside, inner Sakura was celebrating her victory. As the departure date for Kumo grew ever near, the group of genin were assembled on the day before departure in one of the larger auditoriums of the academy. In total, there were 23 teams, or 69 genin, that would be representing Konoha in the exams. Looks like everyone's here. Let's get this started, announced Tsunade. Tomorrow you'll all be departing for the Chunin exams in Kumo. It'll be a 4-day journey and you'll arrive early on the 4th day, giving you the rest of the day to recover from the traveling. The exams will begin the day after you arrive and the format will be very similar to how we do ours, although I cannot tell you exactly what each test entails. The most I can say for sure is that the first exam will have something to do with information gathering, the second exam will be a survival exam, and the third exam will consist of one-on-one matches. Most of the genin nodded at Tsunade's announcement. Now, Kumogakure's Chunin exam is considered the largest of the Chunin exams and as such, you will face a strong presence of competitors from various villages, but especially Kumo. I advise you to help one another instead of hindering those from your own village. As a last word, I am confident that there will be a strong Konoha presence in the third exam finals. With that, Tsunade concluded her briefing for the Chunin exams and the genin were dismissed. Later that evening, Naruto was walking through Konoha, hoping to grab one last ramen dinner before departing. Unfortunately, tonight's dinner would have to be spent alone as his friends were eating with their respective families. In reality, this really didn't bother him as he, Teuchi, and Ayame always managed some interesting conversations. It was during this walk that he spotted a few familiar faces walking through Konoha, one of them wearing a large gourd on his back. Hello Naruto, Gaara greeted his first true friend. He was accompanied by his siblings, who both looked more comfortable being with their brother since the last time. Hey, what are you doing here? If you're coming to the Chunin exams, they're in Kumo, not here, asked Naruto. We're in the exams too, and Konoha happens to be on the way to Kumo so we figured we would find a place to crash here for tonight, explained Tamari. So where were you heading just now? Well, I was kind of going to get some ramen, said Naruto. Ramen. What's that? Asked Gaara. Naruto nearly had a heart attack on spot as Gaara uttered what practically amounted to a sin in Naruto's books, that is until he bought into Gaara's little joke. Ah, you're funny Gaara. What's ramen? Haha, laughed Naruto. Unfortunately, Gaara wasn't laughing. I don't get it. What's so funny? Asked a confused Gaara. Wait, you were serious? Asked a completely stupefied Naruto. Gaara just nodded as Naruto began to freak out. Oh my. We've gotta get some ramen in you stat. Before Gaara could even respond, Naruto had grabbed him by the shirt and began running off in the directions of Ichiraku, leaving only a sand silhouette of Gaara behind which quickly followed. Kankuro and Tamari were left behind in the jaws pretty much brushing the street. What is it Pops? My ramen senses are tingling. What? You don't have ramen senses. I do, see. Teuchi and Ayame watched as an orange blob, dragging a red blob behind him crashed into their little ramen stand. Old man, it's an emergency, shouted Naruto. Teuchi and Ayame were busy brushing the sand off of them that had come crashing into them shortly after Naruto and Gaara. Naruto, what did I tell you? Growled Teuchi. I know. But this really is an emergency. This guy's never had ramen before. Teuchi and Ayame's minds went blank as they tried to process the phrase they never thought they would ever hear. What? This can't be. Ayame, get on the noodle right away, ordered Teuchi as the ramen chef began freaking out. Already on it Pops, shouted Ayame. Hurry, we've gotta get ramen in this poor fellow before he progresses into the later stages of R&D. Shouted Teuchi. R&D? Asked Naruto. Ramen negligence disease, explained Teuchi. It's a horrible disease characterized by head and abdominal pain, questioning of your very existence, and the hearing of voices inside your head. If allowed to progress too far, then the person suffering transforms into a giant rage monster bent on destroying everything around. Wow, just wow, said Naruto in complete and utter disbelief. Why do I feel the sudden urge to smack that guy upside the head repeatedly, retorted Kurama. Well, at least we know why Gaara would always go berserk and wipe out half of Suna, joked Naruto. Shut it before I decide to smack you as well. Oh come on, lighten up. You know, perhaps you need some ramen. Maybe it will help you relax as well, said Naruto. I've had way too much of that stuff as a result of being sealed inside 3 Uzumakis for over 100 years, 100 years of ramen. Even your seal smells like ramen and I'm almost positive the water inside that sewer was ramen. What? 100 years of ramen, replied Naruto. What have you got to say now? Huh? Responded Kurama. 2 words, lucky bastard, responded Naruto as he left the fox laughing a bit. After 3 minutes of panic, Teuchi finally set a bowl of ramen down in front of Gaara. Everyone there stared at Gaara as the Suna Jinchuriki picked up the chopsticks and took his very first bite of ramen. As the ramen hit the taste buds in Gaara's mouth, his eyes shot open. Well? Asked Naruto, Teuchi, and Ayame in unison. This is amazing, said Gaara before delving into the rest of the bowl. Naruto, Teuchi, and Ayame let out a long-held breath, disaster averted. Come on, what are we waiting for? Asked an ever-impatient Naruto. All the genin teams from Konoha were waiting at the village gates. Sakura, Sasuke, and a few others sighed. Just calm down, we're waiting for the escort team to arrive, explained Sakura. I don't get why we need an escort team, I mean there are over 80 trained ninja here, argued Naruto. Suddenly, he felt something slice across his cheek and a kunai embedded itself in the ground in front of him. Well, if it ain't my favorite little Gaki, said Enko as she peeked over Naruto's shoulder and licked some of the blood from the cut her kunai created. Naruto couldn't help it as his entire body stiffened. And he jumped away. What do you want, you crazy snake lady? Asked Naruto. Ah, come on, Gaki. I thought we were good friends. I was even there the first time you took that girl of yours out on a date. Hey, speaking of which, how are things going with her? Asked Anko. Fine, I guess, responded Naruto to Anko's question, not wanting to give too much away to the crazy snake lady. Oh, and look, there she is, said Anko as she dragged Naruto off towards where Hinata and her team were. Within seconds, both genin were wrapped up in Anko's arms. So how are things going between my favorite couple? It feels like only yesterday that the 3 of us were eating dango together, said a smiling Anko. Hey, speaking of which, it's been a few months already, how far have you gotten? Should I be expecting to chase little blonde-haired Hyugas all over the village? Hinata turned a deep red. K-Kid. WWW with NN Naruto. The thoughts of having children with Naruto were too much for the poor girl and she fainted, but not before letting out a slight eep. Anko got that grin of satisfaction on her face before being called away by Genma. Shortly after, all 23 groups of Konoha genin, the dozen groups of Suna genin, their jonin senseis, and the escort group that consisted of Anko, Genma, Shikamaru, and Yugao, were on their way to Kumo. When the massive group of Konoha and Suna genin stopped for the night, everyone kinda broke off into their separate groups. The most notable groups happened to be the Konoha 12 who were also joined by Kankuro and Tamari. They were all having a good time, and even Sasuke managed a laugh or two, when he wasn't busy trying to fend off Ino's advances. Naruto was currently in the process of boiling water for a few cups of instant ramen that he had sealed away with him for the journey when he looked up into a tree to see Gaara sitting by himself. You know, you'll never make friends if you just sit there by yourself, said Naruto, joining Gaara on the same tree branch. I know, I am just afraid, said Gaara. What if they hate me as well? Or what if I can't control myself? Well, first, if they manage to get used to me, then getting used to you will be easy for them. And second, why are you afraid of losing control? Asked Naruto. For the past 5 months, ever since we last fought, I have been trying to hold off the Ikibi's desires to kill. I would be lying if it has been since then. That was the last time I killed while under the Ikibi's sway. Naruto didn't like where this was going. Fucking Tanuki. All he ever thinks about is kill, 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 complained Kurama. Yeah, we know, replied Naruto. Naruto, ever since I left Suna for these exams, he's been getting more persistent. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it through these exams without killing at least someone, warned Gaara. That didn't sound good to Naruto. Gaara also explained that the past 3 weeks he hadn't killed was the longest he had gone and his most recent kill was an enemy on one of their missions. All in all, Gaara was making progress, but the Shukaku was still a big problem to Gaara's development. Think you can keep yourself from killing any of the Konoha shinobi? Asked Naruto, trying to gauge where Gaara was at. I think I can do that, said Gaara. Good. As long as you can do that, then I won't kick your ass again. There is another of my friends in Kumo that I would ask you not to kill, although I think she can take care of herself, said Naruto. Was it that blonde Kunoichi who came to your aid in the forest 6 months ago? Asked Gaara. Yeah. I've been wondering if Yugito will show in these exams as I heard that Shikamaru and Haku were the only ones earning promotions. Anyways, I'll warn you now that if you run into her, you'll be in for one hell of a fight, said Naruto. She's one of us, isn't she? Asked Gaara. Naruto nodded and held up 2 fingers. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of people in this exam. I've heard even as much as twice as many as Konoha's exam. And you know what? I'm really looking forward to it. There's bound to be some strong opponents, said Naruto. I agree. Is there anyone in particular you would wish to fight? Asked Gaara. Naruto pointed down to the rest of the group, towards a particular Uchiha who was trying to pry himself free from Ino's suffocating grasp. Sasuke and I have been training like hell since the last exams. If there is anyone I want to fight, it's him. How about you? For you, I wouldn't kill him, but I would like to face that green friend of yours, Lee. He was the first person to have ever hit me and the first one to push me. I accept your challenge, Gaara of the Desert. And I look forward to our most youthful contest, declared Lee. Apparently someone had been eavesdropping. Everyone's sweat dropped as they looked up into the trees towards the 2 Jinchuriki. Naruto, your water's boiling over, shouted Sakura. Yay! Ramen, shouted Naruto. He turned to Gaara. Come down, join the group. A little conversation will do you some good. Gaara joined in for the rest of the night, and while he kind of just sat there, he couldn't help but feel like he was making some more friends. The following day, the group arrived at their intended campsite early, giving Sasuke some time to go off and train before it got too dark outside. He had managed to sneak away from his last shinobi fangirl as the others had either failed the genin exam and were going at it again this year or had given up being ninja altogether, and then there was Sakura who had given up on bugging him and had started to become a serious shinobi. He heard a snap of a branch behind him and instantly jumped into the trees, afraid his stalker had found him. Thankfully, it was only Naruto. You know, if I didn't know better, I'd say you were afraid of Ino, scaredy cat, said Naruto. Dobi. It's not that, it's just she's become so much more suffocating ever since Sakura stopped pestering me, said Sasuke. They used to busy fighting with each other and that would give me enough time to get away from them, but now. There's nothing to keep Ino at bay, is there? Asked Naruto. Sasuke shook his head as he let some shuriken fly towards a target on the tree. All 10 shuriken hit their mark. And back then, there was always you. What did I do this time? I thought you hated me like everyone else, asked Naruto. I did, but you made the perfect fangirl shield, smirked Sasuke. HMPH, pouted Naruto, crossing his arms. He then got an idea as he pulled out one of his dad's kunai and tossed it at the shuriken Sasuke had lodged in a tree. The kunai sailed clean through the shuriken and the tree. Meh, seen that before, said Sasuke as he took 2 shuriken and threw them at the tree. They sailed past the tree but wires wrapped around tree. Raiden. Dragon lighting jutsu. Electricity traveled through the wires Sasuke had attached to the shuriken and into the tree as it splintered into many fragments, causing the tree to collapse to the ground. I see you've learned a new trick, said Naruto. About 3 dozen, so to speak, replied Sasuke. What? Kakashi taught you that many jutsu in a month? Asked Naruto in slight disbelief. Sasuke nodded. That lazy bum. He's been holding out on us. In my defense, most genin only know maybe 6 jutsu, outside the basic academy ones, by the end of their first year, said Kakashi from the top branch of a tree. This caught Sasuke and Naruto's attention. As was expected, he was reading his new book. PHFT, yeah right. You just wanted to read your books instead of teach us, scoffed Naruto. Kakashi just chuckled a little. Yeah, whatever. Still, genin normally don't learn many jutsu until at least their 2nd or 3rd year, and even those are basic. Most of them are C rank, and the rare ones know A-B rank, yet both of you have an arsenal of B and even a rank jutsu at your disposal. No matter what you say, the facts still show that I did a better job with you 3 than most of the other genin. Come to think of it, you shouldn't even be here. You're what? 12, 13, most genin these days don't take the Chunin exams until they're 15 or 16. So, it's not our fault they lowered the standards on genin these days, said Sasuke. I mean, they even let Naruto pass. Hey, retorted Naruto. Anyways, why does it take so long for genin to take the exams? And why did you say they only know 6 or so jutsu outside the Academy 3 at the end of the first year? Because, that first year is spent on teamwork training and finding where everyone specializes. If you want information on that, go ask Guy about some of the stories he has about trying to find that Tenten was a natural weapons user. Although, it really wasn't that hard to realize that she would be good with weapons considering her dad owns the best weapon shop in the village, said Kakashi. The three of you have unique specialties that mimic that of the Sannin. Sakura, a medical expert like Tsunade, Naruto, a seal specialist like Jiraiya, and Sasuke, a jutsu expert like Orochimaru. There were a few snickers coming from Naruto. So Sasuke's going to turn out to be a pedophilic snake lover like that freak that likes to give little kids hickeys, laughed Naruto. Sasuke shot Naruto what pretty much amounted to a death glare. I seriously hope not. But still, that doesn't excuse the fact that Sasuke has what it takes to surpass Orochimaru in terms of jutsu expertise, just like you and Sakura have the potential to surpass your respective masters. For you, Sasuke, you have something that Orochimaru will never have when it comes to learning jutsu, said Kakashi. The Sharingan, replied Sasuke. Kakashi nodded. It was because of his Sharingan that we were able to hammer 36 jutsu into him in the period of a month. Not only that, but Sasuke has already displayed that he knows how to use them effectively, said Kakashi. Still, while Sasuke's waiting for you to show up every day, Sakura and I are going to be trained by the Sannin, although that pervert leaves a few things to be desired, said Naruto. The Dobi does have a point, thought Sasuke. Well, if you must know, I haven't been late once to one of our private training sessions, defended Kakashi. He then let out a sigh. I hate to admit it, but Naruto does have a point there. Orochimaru most likely would have been a good teacher for you, Sasuke. But as you said, that snake failed to defeat Itachi. Sasuke growled at Itachi's name. And Itachi got his skills from the village. And Orochimaru can't teach you to use the Sharingan, whereas I can. Not to mention, I've got a few favors I can pull around the Anbu that will more than compensate for anything Orochimaru could give you, said Kakashi with a smile. Oh Sasuke. Come out, come out. You bad boy. And that's my cue to get the hell out of here, said Sasuke as he took to the trees, wanting to get away before Ino showed up. Before leaving, he told Naruto one last thing. I overheard your conversation with Gaara last night, Naruto. You're the one I want to fight the most as well. As Sasuke had just left, Ino appeared out of the bushes, asking where Sasuke went. Both Kakashi and Naruto decided to cut Sasuke some slack and pointed in the opposite direction Sasuke had gone. Before leaving himself, Kakashi turned to Naruto, who was still trying to take in the fact that Sasuke had learned so much in the past month and that pace of improving didn't appear to be slowing down anytime soon. Naruto, don't worry about any of that. Out of all three of you, you've grown the most and you're the one I really look forward to seeing how far you can get. If there's anyone who can surpass your dad, it's you, said Kakashi before disappearing as well. The final 2 days of travel were nothing noteworthy, except for the headache Anko managed to give the Kumo shinobi when they entered the Land of Lightning. As soon as they entered the village of Kumogakure, Naruto's attention was quickly drawn elsewhere as his hand was clutching a particular blue book. Yes, Kumogakure no Sato was home to one of the ramen stands in his passport and he was determined to get a nice warm bowl of whatever they served as their special dish. The moment he had the passport that he needed to hold onto for the exams and the location of the hotel they would be staying in, Naruto was off, leaving the rest of the Konoha 12 in the dust with their sweat dropping. Is ramen the only thing that Gaki ever thinks of? Asked Anko. Everyone who knew Naruto nodded. Naruto arrived at the ramen bar that he was looking for to encounter a rather large crowd. He managed to wiggle into a seat. Well, what do you know? It's my ramen buddy from Takanabe town, said a voice. Naruto looked over the bar to see the same Kusa ninja from back during the Land of Rivers mission that he met at the. Guess you're here for the specialty as well. Yep. Hey, any idea what it is? Asked Naruto. Nope. Hey, I don't think I ever got your name back in Takanabe, said the Kusa ninja. Uzumaki Naruto. What's yours? Asked a grinning Naruto. Naruto, huh. No wonder you're a ramen lover, even your name has something to do with it. Anyways, I'm Kenichi, said the Kusa ninja. Looks like you boys are here for the special, said the old chef. You bet, both Kenichi and Naruto exclaimed as they handed the man the passport. Hey, me too. Naruto and Kenichi looked over to see about 3 others from AIM, Kiri, and Iwa all having ramen passports. The chef just laughed. When you've got this many people in one place, there's bound to be at least a few of you guys. Right. Give me a few minutes and I'll have them ready, said the chef. Hey Gano, I'll have what they're having as well, said a familiar voice as Naruto noticed a 6th passport being handed to the chef over his shoulder. The chef just smiled and nodded and Naruto looked back to see Yugito behind him. I must say I am surprised to see you here, Naruto. Hey, Yugito. Wait, you have a passport as well? Asked Naruto. Of course. Ramen's the best, Yugito smiled. Hey, it must be a Jinchuriki thing. I introduced Gaara to ramen the other day and he was in heaven, said Naruto. That certainly explains why he was always so bloodthirsty. He must have been suffering from RND, said Yugito. Wait, is that a real disease? Asked Naruto. Yep, although you, me, that Gaara kid, and a few others are the only ones who could really turn into a giant rage monster, bent on wiping out an entire village, replied Yugito. I don't know, the nibbies certainly got a liking for the stuff, especially any sort of fish-flavored ramen. Hold on, I thought you were keeping your status as a Jinchuriki a secret and here you are talking about it at a ramen stand that has dozens of people from outside the village, said Naruto. Actually, that was you. And don't worry, a particular loudmouth Jinchuriki here in the village spilled that secret to the world 3 months ago, said Yugito. Huh. Another one? Asked Naruto. Yeah, Bisama's the Jinchuriki of the Hachibi and the brother of the Raikage, said Yugito. Great. Another one. Just my luck, complained Kurama. Oh, quit complaining, responded Naruto. Naruto then turned back to Yugito. So do you think I can meet this bee? I don't really know. Although knowing him, he'll interrupt the exams at some point in time, said Yugito. Huh. What's that mean? Asked Naruto. Yugito just laughed at this. Oh, you'll see. He can be a rather interesting guy, said Yugito. Hey, so does this mean you'll be in the exams too? Asked Naruto. Yeah, unfortunately the Raikage didn't give out promotions due to the little attack your village suffered a few months ago. But still, I guess this means that I get to have a bit of fun this time around. And since I don't have to worry about keeping the Nibby a secret anymore, which means I don't have to lose the match like last time. If I could have used the Nibby, I would have beaten that ice guy for sure, said Yugito. Here you go, said the chef, setting the ramen down in front of everyone who had ordered a bowl. So do you know what's special about these bowls? Naruto asked Yugito. Yep, but I'm not going to tell you. That would ruin the surprise, Yugito laughed. All 5 other ramen enthusiasts just shrugged and simultaneously took a sip of the ramen. The flavor was a shock to their systems, literally. The moment they took a bite of the ramen, they received a slight shock from the ramen. Yugito and the chef all laughed at the 5 others' reactions. There's a rare root that grows high in the mountains that we use to make the ramen, explained Gano. It comes from the Kaminari tree. Those trees are famous for being struck by lightning and when that happens, a small charge is stored in the root of the tree. That root helps make a good broth for ramen and also adds a little surprise for the unsuspecting. The Kaminari ramen, as the dish was named, was still an incredibly delicious dish. It didn't quite surpass the Uzumaki ramen that Teuchi had begun making, but it still ranked within the top 5 ramen dishes he had ever had. As it was getting late, Naruto left to return to the hotel after having a second bowl of the Kaminari ramen. As he left, Yugito followed and 2 Iwa ninja, who had overheard Naruto's conversation turned to each other. And Uzumaki, EHH. Apparently, I thought we wiped them all out back in the Second War. I guess our forces missed all of them during the invasion. Still, that means we can be the ones to correct the mistakes of our fathers. And you know what else makes it interesting? What? Look who the kid resembles. What do you think our sensei would say if we bring him the head of someone who resembles the infamous Yellow Flash? Hey. You're right. And the best thing is that he's just a brat. This should be pretty easy. Chapter 49. Here we go again. The Chunin exams. Round 1. The morning of the Chunin exams, Naruto was exploding with anxiety and energy. This only brought one question to Sakura's mind. What would happen if, and Kami forbid, Naruto ever got his hands on a pot of coffee? However, Naruto had a reason to be excited as this time through the exams, they would all certainly make it. Naruto wished that every member of the 4 Konoha teams, minus Hyuga Shinji as he could really care less, that he considered close to him would make Chunin this time around, but in reality, he knew that would not happen. If at the very least, he wanted his team and perhaps Hinata to make Chunin. Naruto, do you have everything? Asked Sasuke. Yep. Food, water, weapons, and survival gear is all here in these scrolls, said Naruto. Team 7 had spent the previous night making sure that they would be prepared for the second exam to happen directly after the first exam, and as such, they had Naruto seal away the basics they would need in whatever venue the second exam would be held in. Also, in exchange for ramen when they got back to Konoha, Naruto had agreed to prepare a few scrolls for Teams 8 and 10. Team 10 was already taken care of due to Tenten. While Sasuke and Sakura didn't like the idea of assisting other teams, the other 3 teams from Konoha were different. They were comrades, and if Team 7 wanted anyone else to make it through the exams, it was them. With the final preparations made, Team 7 departed for the venue of the first exam. As they made their way there, it was obvious just by the number of teams that were heading to the exams that this one was truly going to be big. As they were walking through the streets, one ninja in particular caught Naruto's attention. Was a team of Kiri ninja, all who were wearing some sort of respirator. If any of them truly caught Naruto's attention, it was the one in the middle, dressed in all black. Naruto could sense the malicious intent rolling off the genin. There was definitely bloodlust in the genin's eyes. Naruto knew he felt this before. It was like the time when they met Gaara in the Forest of Death, only more intense. So you've noticed that guy too, said Kiba, joining Team 7. Something's not right about that guy, responded Sasuke. I know. I can smell it. The smell of rotten decay. The smell of blood. The smell of death, said Kiba in a fearful manner. Everyone looked to the top of Kiba's head to the whimpering Akamaru. Even the poor dog was scared. I tell ya, I've never seen Akamaru like this since that Gaara kid back in the Forest of Death, although I will admit he's gotten a lot better. I'll warn you now. I would suggest staying away from him. Roku, you can't be serious, that guy's a Jinchuriki, asked Naruto as he stopped in the middle of the street. I'm nearly certain of it. His chakra matches that overgrown slugs, and that would also explain the mask and why everyone who gets within a 6-foot radius of him and isn't wearing a mask, couldn't stop coughing, replied Kurama. I remember that slug would always be surrounded by a sort of acidic cloud. Anything that got too close would just melt away. It looks like his own body even emits a little bit of acid as a result from being the Rokubi's Jinchuriki. In fact, you're the only one who can even get close to him without a mask. Why me? Only the Sanbi and myself were ever able to engage that slug in close combat. The Sanbi because of that thick shell of his, and me because of my regeneration. Anything else will just die if they get too close for too long. The rest of Teams 7 and 8 looked back to see a slightly horrified expression on Naruto's face. Naruto? Asked Hinata as she went back for her blonde. Is everything okay? Naruto nodded, but whispered into Hinata's ear. Stay away from him. He's a Jinchuriki like me. Under no circumstances should you go near him at all, warned Naruto as Hinata's eyes shot open. She took a moment to take everything in before nodding. Naruto rejoined the group. What's up, Dobi? Asked Sasuke. I'll explain in a bit. But for now, just know that he's Roku, said Naruto. Sasuke and Sakura instantly got the hint and were a bit shocked by the realization of another Jinchuriki, and a bloodthirsty one at best, in their presence. Kiba was trying to decipher what Naruto was talking about while Shino just remained silent. As they got closer to the building, Sasuke asked Naruto something that was on his mind. So what are you going to do if it's a written exam like last time? You don't have my Sharingan, Sakura's brains, or even Haku's mirrors to help you this time. And you can't just wait and see if there is a similar 10th question, said Sasuke. Naruto thought for a bit. It was a good question and one he hadn't really thought of. Kakashi had mentioned a possible interrogation instead of a written test, But I guess you never could be sure in these situations, right? Everyone looked at Naruto as he struggled to come up with something. It was at that time that one of Shino's bugs came buzzing by him as it returned to Shino. I've got it. Bugs, declared Naruto. Shino raised an eyebrow to this, as did everyone else. What are you talking about, Yubaka? You can't use bugs, said Kiba. I know, but I can use shadow clones and they can transform into bugs. I'll make some clones before going in and transform them into bugs. Then they'll go around and pick up the answers and dispel. The answers will then come to me, said Naruto. Wow. That actually sounded intelligent for once, said a surprised Sakura. Okay, who are you and where is that blonde idiot? Sakura, shouted Hinata in protest as she grabbed Naruto's arm. I'm just kidding. I just never expected Naruto to come up with something like that, replied Sakura. It is indeed an impressive strategy, said Shino. And if it not a written test? Well, then I'll just have to wing it, grinned Naruto as everyone's sweat dropped. So in other words, if it's not a written test, then we're doomed, said Sakura. Pretty much, responded Sasuke. And if it is a written test, Naruto will still find a way to screw up. Naruto pouted as everyone laughed. Finally, after a few minutes, they arrived at the building where the first exam was taking place. Like there was in Konoha, there was a little genjutsu trap for the ones who didn't get it. Unlike last time, everyone just walked right past instead of pointing out the genjutsu. Inside the main room of the exam, the sheer amount of ninja present gave everyone a shock. While at the Konoha exam, there was around 250 to 300 participants, there were easily 500 ninja in here, if not a few hundred more. The numbers advantage definitely went to Kumo, having what appeared to be 300 to 400 participants. One thing was sure, things were getting interesting. Looking around, Naruto saw some familiar faces from the last exam. The Sand siblings were over by themselves. Naruto also noticed the blonde-haired Kumo Jinchuriki conversing amongst some of the other Kumo ninja. He saw a large circle of space forming around the 3 Kiri Genin from the street earlier, most likely from the acidic gas that emitted from the Rokubi's Jinchuriki. 4 Jinchuriki in this exam, wait, make that 5. Naruto wasn't sure how he initially missed that hair, it was more uncommon than Sakura's pink hair. Fu and her team from Takigakure no Sato were also there and Naruto could instantly tell just by looking at her that she seemed a bit more confident. Did this mean she had gotten over her fears of bugs? Finally, Naruto's attention was turned towards Team Guy, who was coming over. Definitely something else, huh? Said Tenten. Yosh. So much youthfulness in this room. I can't wait for the battles to start so that I may test my flames of youth, shouted Lee before Tenten could clamp a hand over his mouth. Quiet or you'll make enemies of everyone in the room like Naruto did in the first exam, said Tenten. Tenten's right. The strong ones will show themselves eventually. For now, let's just focus on getting through this exam, said Neji. I see you managed to make your way here. That's good. After all, you can't be a Hyuga if you fall to a measly genjutsu, said a smug Shinji as a few of the Konoha 11 remember that Shikamaru isn't here, swore to themselves. However, you should probably just quit now if you know what's good for you, especially you Hinata. We can't have the heiress of the Hyuga clan embarrassing us here. Or worse yet, dying and losing the Byakugan to some other village. That would just be a shame. Shinji's tone was harsh, even more so than Neji's was in the first exams. With that said, Sakura was busy trying to hold Naruto back from slugging Shinji across the face. Calm down, Naruto. There will be chances for you to kick his ass later, said Sasuke. HMPH. Kick my ass. As if some loser like you could beat me. You know, it makes me question Hinata's worth even more, how she could see anything in you, you worthless piece of dirt, scoffed Shinji. Now he had to worry about a few others gearing up for battle, most notably Hinata. While she didn't care if anyone insulted her, she wasn't going to let a member of her clan insult Naruto while she was around. Quiet down, shouted the proctor as the exam was about to get underway. I'm Darui, your proctor for the first exam. Everyone's attention turned towards the front of the room to see a blonde-haired Kumo ninja. Why did boss have to make me proctor the exam, thought Darui. You're all here for the opportunity to become Chunin and as such you need to know how to gather accurate information. One such way to get information is from a captured enemy. For this exam, you will be interrogating a prisoner. They possess the location that you are to report to if you hope to move on to the second exam. You are allowed to use whatever means necessary to obtain this information so long as you don't kill or physically maim them. Now, if you'll report to your designated assistant proctor, they will show you to your interrogation room. Everyone looked around the room to see a score of Kumo ninja lined up against the wall, holding signs with each team's name on it. Despite the number of people in the room, it wasn't long before all the ninja in there were on their way to separate rooms to interrogate their prisoners. With Team 7, an interrogation test. Looks like I won't be needing these, said Naruto as he dispelled the shadow clone bugs on him. Yes, but now we need another plan, said Sasuke. I think I've got an idea, said Sakura. Naruto, think you can act like you're about to lose it to that furball in your head? Huh? Why? Asked Naruto. Sasuke got what Sakura was talking about. Just do it, act like it's about to take you over at any second and rip us all to shreds, said Sasuke. I still don't get it. Why would I need furball for this? Asked Naruto. You really can be dense sometimes, said Kurama. Hey, watch your mouth, replied Naruto. I would, if you would understand at what your teammates are talking about, said the Kyuubi. Naruto looked at the fox in his mindscape with a confused look. Look, humans act differently in the presence of pure terror. They want you to use me to scare your victim into giving up the information before I break free and eat you all. What? You're going to eat us? I thought we were friends, shouted Naruto. Kurama nearly face planted. While Naruto had been making progress over the past months, he was still Naruto and as such he still did have his moments of idiocy. I won't eat you, you baka. But the prisoner will think I am and as such will give you the information out of desperation, said Kurama. Naruto finally got it. I got it now, shouted Naruto. About time, Dobi, responded Sasuke. Just leave this to me and Sakura and we'll let you know if we need you to snap. Here we are, said the proctor as they arrived at their room. You have 2 hours to get the location of the second exam. Once you have it, tell me and I will lead you there. If you kill your prisoner, you will be disqualified. Once you open the door, your test will be over and you will be required to give the answer, whether it be right or wrong. All three genin nodded as they stepped inside the interrogation room. Their prisoner was a larger man, probably in his late 30s. Sasuke and Sakura approached the man as Naruto went to find a corner to huddle in and make it look like the Kyuubi was starting to take him over. What's up with the shrimp? Asked the prisoner. Oh, nothing you need to be worried about, yet. However, I strongly suggest you tell us the location of the second exam or else things with our friend could get real ugly, real quick, said Sasuke. The prisoner instantly gave them a location, something Sasuke instantly discovered to be a lie. The Sharingan for him acted as a personal lie detector and it would help a great deal during the interrogation. No, not yet, mother, mumbled Naruto. His blood eye is dirty, surely you don't want his blood. What the hell are you doing? Not that insane Tanuki, protested Kurama. Hey, sorry. Imitating Gaara's the best I've got when it comes to this stuff though, said Naruto. Oh no, he's already begun talking to it. Please, just tell us. You don't want to see him when he kills, begged Sakura. PHFT. He can drop the act already. That kid couldn't even kill a fly, said the prisoner. But I applaud your attempt. I almost believed it for a second. As such, I'll tell you what. I'll let you ask one question about me personally, and I'll answer truthfully. However, you can't ask me about the test. Sasuke took a gamble. He saw the way the man initially looked at Naruto before he figured the blonde was just bluffing. Why were you arrested? What did you do? Asked Sasuke. Sasuke, wait. Shouldn't we think this through? Objected Sakura. Too late, Pinky. Fine, I'll tell you, said the man. This village is inhabited by demons. I was just trying to do my duty as a civilian and save the village from one of these demons until the Raikage, that blasted demon lover, threw me in here for my so-called crime. This just made things so much easier, thought Sasuke. His theory was right. This man was afraid of Jinchuriki and they happened to have one huddled in the corner right now. He gave Sakura a quick look and she caught on. It was time to get this test over with. Please Jade, just stop. He can't take it anymore, he's gonna kill, shouted Naruto from his corner. Yeah right, Like that kid could ever be one of those demon freaks, said the man. I suggest you tell us now before things really get out of hand, said Sasuke. Suddenly, there was a scream from the corner as Sakura went over to check on Naruto. Okay kid, quit playing around. We all know you'd never hurt a fly, mocked the man. Please, just tell us, begged Sakura. If we don't get out of here soon, he's going to snap. You're going to have to do better than that, Pinky, if you want to get the information out of me. And that little act of your friend's is just pathetic, said the prisoner. Ha ha, ha ha. Naruto began to laugh as his voice grew slightly more demonic. A large burst of chakra was felt throughout the room and the man began to realize just how wrong he was. In the blink of an eye, Naruto was no longer in his corner, but now in the prisoner's face. The man could see the pure terror in Naruto's red-slitted eyes. So you don't like demons like me? Well, then let's have some fun. The prisoner was suddenly hit with a focused wave of killing intent and in some other interrogation room, Kiba was thankful he was not in that room as the man lost control of his bowels. What is this? He stuttered out. The man was now absolutely terrified. That was just a vision of your death. Now for it to become a reality. Naruto jabbed his claw out, ready to strike the man's heart. The location is Thunder Peak. The place where the heavens meet the earth. The man shouted out. Now please stop him. Just as Naruto was about to rip into the man's chest, the demonic aura surrounding him retreated and he backed off. Hey. Thank you for that, said Naruto, doing a complete 180 in front of the man. That had been the truth and Naruto was sure of it, thanks to the negative emotions sensing ability that also functioned as a lie detector. The man was confused now, his head spinning insanely fast, until he passed out from all the stress. Not bad, said Sasuke. We've got what we need. Now let's go. It'll be nice to have some time to prepare before the next part. The rest of Team 7 nodded and opened the door, their task complete. Your answer? The proctor asked. Thunder Peak, the place where the heaven meets the earth, said Sasuke. He proctor just nodded and motioned for them to follow. With Team Guy, Neji, Tenten, and Lee were taking a different approach, seeing as they didn't have a Jinchuriki to scare the shit out of their prisoner. However, they did have something equally as good, the flames of youth. Please, make him stop. Begged Team Guy's prisoner. Lee had unshackled the prisoner and was currently making sure that the prisoner was doing the 500 push-ups that he was doing as well. Tenten had brought along the same scroll that was used on Kiba a few months ago and the prisoner was now dressed in a green spandex suit, had bushy eyebrows, and a bowl-cut hairstyle. I'm afraid we've been trying to stop him for 2 years now and it's only provoked him further. Don't worry though, you've only got 1 hour 45 minutes left to endure your fate, said Neji in his fate mode. Yosh. Now for 1000 thumb stand push-ups, shouted Lee. Come my new friend. Let us bask in the glories of youth together. The prisoner's sweat dropped as he began to whimper. Before he knew it, Tenten and Neji were helping him into position into a handstand, only using his thumbs. 101, 102, 103, said Lee as the prisoner looked in disbelief at the pace Lee was going at. I still can't see why we went with this approach. I'm sure you could have just told me where to place a few needles to hit nerve clusters and we could have used pain to get him to submit, said Tenten. Yes, but you remember our first days on Team Guy. I'll give it maybe 20 more minutes before he's begging for us to end it, said Neji. 20 minutes later. Yosh. Now for 2000 squat thrusts, shouted Lee. The prisoner looked about ready to die after Neji and Tenten had helped him get through those thumb stand push-ups. Needless to say, he was nowhere near Lee's 1000. Please, make it stop. No more. I'll talk, just keep me away from that. Yeah, screamed the prisoner. Neji just let out a smirk as they had succeeded. Your answer? Asked the proctor. Thunder Peak, responded Tenten. The proctor nodded and motioned for them to follow. Unfortunately, they were missing someone. Lee, are you coming? Asked Tenten in a frustrated tone. I must. 102. Finish. 103. This. 104. Set. 105 inches said Lee as Tenten and Neji sighed. NJI activated his Byakugan and struck a chakra point on the back of Lee's neck, knocking him unconscious. Is he always like that? Asked the proctor. You have no idea. Are you familiar with Meta Guy? Asked Neji. The proctor paled. Even in Kumo's guys extreme workouts were well known and the proctor began pitying them. With Team 10 inches interrogation, this will be a breeze, declared Ino. HMPH, what makes you think you'll be able to do this? Scoffed Shinji. Simple, I'm a Yamanaka. Stuff like this is my family's specialty, bragged Ino. And once I pass this exam with ease, the Sasuke will see just how awesome I am. But Ino, I thought you didn't know any sort of interrogation techniques, said Choji. Well, after I mentioned to my dad that we were going to Kumo and there was most likely going to be an interrogation test, he taught me a jutsu for reading minds, said Ino. As they entered the room, the prisoner they were to be interrogating gave them a grin, especially Ino. Well, it seems like my lucky day. You're pretty good looking, now why don't your friends leave so we can have a little fun, said man with a perverted grin on his face. Ino gulped. She already had a feeling that she knew what the man was in here for. Partial multi-sized jutsu, shouted Choji, mad at the tone the prisoner was giving Ino. He clamped his arms around the prisoner and squeezed. Stop it you fat ass or you're going to crush him to death, said Shinji, using Choji's taboo word. Ino instantly realized this and jumped between Choji and Shinji as Choji wouldn't go through Ino to get to his target. Choji, just stop it. He's not worth it, said Ino. Just make sure you keep the prisoner locked down for me, okay? Choji nodded and Shinji proceeded with a Juken strike to the back of the man's neck which knocked him unconscious. Ino placed her hand on the prisoner's head and began to focus. Ninpu. Mind read jutsu, she said. When Ino opened her eyes, she was no longer in the room where she once was. She was floating in a blank space with what looked like a brain floating in front of her. Ino floated over towards the gigantic brain. It was a weird sensation, being inside someone's head. She had only used this jutsu once before and that was when her dad was teaching her about it. Thankfully for her, there were no memory blocks in place for this guy that she would have to navigate through. When she reached the brain, Ino did as her father instructed and placed her hand on the brain, pulling what looked to be a large scroll out. Ino took a deep breath and began to sort through the memories, in hopes of finding the information they needed for the test. Unfortunately, the very first memory was the memory she was afraid of running into. Even before they began, she already had a hunch as to what this man was imprisoned for, and this first memory proved it. He was imprisoned for rape and that was the unfortunate memory that Ino had come across first. Ino did her best to block out the rest of it as she proceeded through the man's memories. After about 30 minutes of searching, she finally found something. Did you find anything? Asked Choji as Ino awakened in the real world. Yeah, I've got it, Ino said as the man began to regain consciousness. But just hold on, there's one more jutsu I want to test out. And that would be? Asked Choji. In all reality, he and Shinji should have just covered their ears and turned away. Secret woman taijutsu technique. Kick in the balls no jutsu, shouted Ino as she drove her foot right up between the man's legs and into his groin. Both Choji and Shinji winced at that and instinctively, their hands moved into a position to protect their manhood. Team 10 then exited the room and gave the proctor their answer, Thunder Peaks. Like the rest of the Konoha proctors, the proctor just nodded and led them to the location they gave. With Team 8 was having a little bit more of a difficult time getting their prisoner to talk as they didn't have a Jinchuriki to scare the shit out of him, a mind reader, or Lee. The most they had going for them at the moment was Hinata's Byakugan, which she could use to detect lies. Damn it, this is getting us nowhere, said Kiba. Hinata was getting a little depressed at this. She didn't want a mere interrogation test to get in her way of continuing on in the exams. Surely Naruto and Neji had already found ways to get past their prisoners and she figured that Ino, being a Yamanaka who specialized in stuff like this, had probably gotten her team, and Shinji, through the test as well. About an hour had passed and they were getting nowhere. They are ready, said Shino. Both Hinata and Kiba looked over at their bug-using teammate. Shino walked over to the prisoner and placed his finger on the prisoner's neck. Ow! What the hell was that? Screamed the prisoner as he felt a sharp stinging pain in his neck. They are a special variation of insects that I brought with me for such an occurrence. They have just released their venom into your system and you should begin to feel intense pain in a matter of minutes. The pain will only continue to increase unless I give you the antidote, said Shino. Well, what do you want for me to get this antidote? Asked the prisoner. The answer, truthfully, said Shino. Hey, I'm sure I can deal with a little pain. I've only got to put up with it until this exam is over, said the man with a smirk on his face. Shino, how strong is the pain? Asked Hinata. Once it kicks in, unbearable, responded Shino, emotionless as always as Hinata flinched. A few minutes passed with the prisoner just laughing at Team 8's feeble attempts to get him to talk. That is until he keeled over in pain, clutching his abdomen. It has begun, said Shino. The pain will only continue to spread and worsen. Another minute or two passed before the prisoner began to cry out and the screams continued for another 10 minutes with Hinata finding the screams unbearable as well. She didn't like seeing anyone in this sort of pain. Shino caught Hinata's flinches. He truly was sorry for having to resort to this, but it felt like the best option. He was just hoping for Hinata's sake that it wouldn't be too much longer before the prisoner cracked. Finally, after 10 agonizing minutes of screaming, the prisoner cracked. Thunder. Ah, peaks. Now please. Make it stop, shouted the prisoner in obvious pain. Hinata confirmed the truth with her dojutsu and Shino administered the insect that had the anti-venom. Like the other proctors, theirs just simply nodded and led them off towards the said location. Alright. We made it. And we're some of the first, shouted Naruto as he and Team 7 walked into a large waiting room, where a few other ninja were as well. Sasuke turned to the proctor that escorted them. So does this mean we passed? I cannot say. You will learn your fate in this test at the end of the time limit, said the proctor. Sasuke sighed. Things looked good, despite not knowing for sure, as there was already a large portion of Kumo ninja within the room, including a blonde-haired kunoichi who was walking towards them. Don't worry, either you guys passed or we all just failed, said Yugito. This test was rigged in favor of Jinchuriki. All you had to do was flare some demonic chakra and most of the prisoners they used would practically crap themselves as they spilled the information. Really? Wow. Well then good thing I thought of that, said Naruto, receiving some glares from Sakura and Sasuke. Anyways, just sit tight. We have over an hour to kill before they move on. So just try and keep yourself entertained until then, said Yugito. An hour. That's it. Hey, waiting will be easy then, replied Naruto. Yugito just sent him an odd look. You obviously haven't met our sensei, explained Sakura. He's normally 2 hours late to just about everything. About 30 minutes passed and the next of the Konoha teams entered. It was Team Guy, and while there was a different Hyuga Naruto would have rather seen walk through those doors, Neji was better than the third Hyuga in Kumo. Hey guys, shouted Naruto, waving to Team Guy. The three of them walked over to where Naruto was busy scribbling something on a scroll. Tenten immediately recognized that he was working on ceiling. So how'd it go? Good, I think. I mean I don't know if we passed yet, so we aren't entirely sure, said Tenten. Well, I'm sure we passed and since you're here as well, that means you passed. Tabeo, said Naruto. So how'd you guys take care of your prisoner? We used the power of youth, said Tenten, pointing over at Lee who was finishing his set of squat thrusts that Neji interrupted. All three members of Team 7 shivered at the thought. So how about you guys? Said Naruto, not sure where to go. We used some sort of Sharingan genjutsu that Sasuke had, said Sakura, covering for Naruto using Kyuubi chakra. About 10 minutes passed before the next Konoha team arrived. Unfortunately, this team didn't contain the Hyuga Naruto was hoping to see. Team 10 and Shinji had arrived. Time passed and Naruto was becoming increasingly anxious. It was over an hour since the exam started and one by one, teams began to file into the rooms. It was already becoming clear that this test was not the one meant to weed out participants like the first exam in Konoha as around half the initial field was already there by the end of the first hour. Needless to say, the amount of genin entering the room began to slow down during the second hour and Naruto was getting increasingly anxious. He wanted so bad for Hinata to pass. Not only would it mean that she would have a chance to be promoted, but any opportunity he saw to stick it to the Hyuga clan elders was one he didn't want to pass up, and Hinata being promoted would do just that. Damn it, where are they? Swore Naruto. Calm down, they'll be here. You trust her, right? Said Sakura trying to get her blonde-haired teammate to calm down. Sasuke would have tried to calm him down, but with Ino being there, well, Let's just say he found a use for Gaara's sand shield that helped him out. I do, but still, said Naturo before he was cut off. Then just give it a little longer. Team 8 will be here. We all agreed beforehand that we were going to get through the second exam like last time, reassured Sakura. Just go back to working on your seals or something. Naruto pouted, but Sakura was right. There was nothing he could do but trust Hinata and Team 8 to pull through. After all, they had about 40 minutes to still arrive. Another 20 minutes passed and they finally arrived. Hinata, called out Naruto. Hinata smiled, seeing that Naruto was in the same place that she was. At least she figured that everyone here would be either failing or passing the first exam together. With the Konoha 11 plus Shinji all together, Naruto was putting the finishing touches on whatever it was he was working on. Okay Naruto, spill it. What are you working on? Asked Tenten as she saw a dozen copies of a seal that she did not recognize on the scroll in front of him. One sec. Almost, they're done, he said. Now, I need all of you to place your hand on top of one of these seals. Why do we have to do this? Asked Neji. Just do it. Trust me on this. They'll help us all in the survival exam, said Naruto. Very well. Trust is essential in our ability to succeed in these exams, said Shino as he placed his hand on top of one of the seals. Hinata was second, followed by Sakura and Sasuke. The remaining members followed, with a hesitant Shinji being last. Naruto made the dog, serpent, and ram seal, in that order, and placed his own hand down upon the 12th seal. Fuinjutsu. Seal imprint. All 12 of them watched as a Konoha leaf symbol inscribed itself on the back of their hands, before fading. What did you do? Barked Shinji, activating his Byakugan towards Naruto. Just hold on. Let Naruto explain, said Sasuke, defending his teammate, rival, and best friend. Naruto held up his palm and channeled a small amount of chakra into the place where the seal was. The leaf that had faded illuminated in a blue glow. It's a simple identification seal. The last time we were in these exams, my team got ambushed 2 times because enemies impersonated me. We had to come up with some sort of long code that, to be honest, I couldn't remember at all. This makes it easier to identify who you can and can't trust. Bah, I mean Tsunade-sama was right. There are a lot of ninja here and our best bet is to support one another, not hinder each other. I see. Impressive, replied Shino. What's Naruto talking about? Asked Kiba. Simple, only trust someone if they can show you this seal, said Sakura, illuminating the leaf on her hand. I agree. We should agree to a truce amongst each other and assist one another if we can while we are in there, said Neji. Everyone nodded, even a hesitant Shinji. Looking around the room, they weren't the only ones grouping together. It was blatantly obvious that truces and pacts were being formed between groups from the same village. The 2-hour limit quickly came to an end. 180 shinobi, 60 teams, said Sasuke as he counted the teams remaining in the room with his eyes. Whoa, that's a lot. At least twice as many that were in the second round of the Konoha exam, said Sakura, recalling the exam. I know. What did you think, Naruto? Said Sasuke. A lot of people here. To say the least, interesting, replied Naruto, receiving a smirk from Sasuke. Taking one last look around the room, Naruto realized one thing, that horrified him in a sense. What's the matter Dobi, you can't be chickening out now? Asked Sasuke, catching Naruto's reaction. Naruto sent a glare back towards Sasuke. It's not that, Tem. This is something I can handle, but I'm afraid for the others, said Naruto. Well then what is that has you on edge? Asked Sasuke. Follow my finger closely, said Naruto. Sasuke activated his Sharingan and followed where Naruto was pointing. Ichi, Ni, Roku, Nana, Q. Sasuke's eyes shot wide as he realized what Naruto was referring to. 5 of them. 4 others like you? Asked Sasuke. Naruto nodded. Sasuke just got that look on his face. Now things really are going to get fun. While Sasuke was fantasizing fighting any one of the 5 Jinchuriki that Naruto had pointed out, he made his way to the other teams, specifically the Hyugas. Guys, I need to warn you about something right now. Take a good look at my chakra and tell me what you see, said Naruto, deciding he would rather risk the Kyuubi secret over one of the teams actually coming face to face with a Jinchuriki. All three Hyugas activated their eyes and Naruto channeled some of the Kyuubi's chakra into his system. Naruto, thought Hinata. It's that chakra from our match before, thought Neji. It's the Kyuubi's chakra. What's up with that red chakra, thought Shinji. Did you get a good look? Asked Naruto. It was red. Why was it red? Asked Shinji. Out of the three, Shinji was the only one unaware of the Kyuubi inside Naruto. Hinata had known for years and had accepted him without hesitation, and Neji had learned about it during their match. The burden and cursed seal that Naruto bore only made Neji respect the blonde more. I don't want to explain why right now, but just know that my chakra is special. However, there are others here with that similar chakra. Just please trust me on this. If you see red, run. Under no means should you fight them, warned Naruto. Why shouldn't we? Objected Shinji. No chakra is any match for a Hyuga. Baka, thought Neji, having personal experience against that kind of chakra. Just trust me on this. You don't want to fight those guys. If you do, there's a very high likelihood that you'll lose or even die, said Naruto. Whatever, said Shinji as he walked away from Naruto, leaving the blonde with Neji and Hinata. Naruto, I suppose I should tell you now that I know about the mark you carry, and I am truly sorry for what I said to you back there, said Neji. Your burden is much greater than my own and I deeply respect you for that. Naruto realized what Neji was saying. Naruto knew that somehow Neji had figured out that he had the Kyuubi inside of him. However, he was glad to have another friend on his side that knew. Thank you, Neji. Now just make sure to keep your team safe from the others. I will. If I may ask though, how many? Asked Neji. Including myself. 5 inches. Neji's eyes shot open at Naruto's answer. I cannot tell you how stable they are, but trust that you have nothing to fear from me. Very well. You have my word that I'll keep them safe, said Neji. With that, he lights in the room dimmed as the proctor, Darui, made his way into the room. Naruto. Naruto turned his attention towards Hinata, who lunged herself at him, wrapping him in her own arms and kissing him. Hinata, said Naruto. I'll keep my team safe. Don't worry. I'll see you in the 3rd round, said the Hyuga heiress as she rejoined her team. Stay safe, my Haim, said Naruto. Hinata caught this from Naruto and blushed a little at Naruto's new calling for her. Quiet down, shouted Darui from the front. Where is he? He should be here by now. Congratulations on passing the first exam. That first exam was rather easy, don't you think? Said Darui, receiving a few chuckles from the crowd. I'm sorry to say that our proctor for the second exam is running a little late, so just sit tight and he should be here to explain the next exam shortly. Suddenly, the lights went out as a faint beat was heard somewhere in the room. From a balcony in the back of the room they were in, a single light shone down upon a certain blonde-haired Kumo shinobi with 7 swords sheathed on his back. He was bouncing to the beat that could be heard throughout the hall and Darui's sweat dropped. Y'all say ho, shouted the Kumo ninja. Ho, all the Kumo shinobi in the room shouted back. It was evident that this was at least somewhat normal to them. And then the man began rapping. Know my name, know my fame, don't be lame. 8 tails, that's me, da rappin' killer B. Battle after battle is what you'll face, if you don't wanna end a big disgrace. So hold on to your tails or else you'll fail. Drop kick. A massive crash came through the roof of the building as the Raikage entered, ending B's rap with a big slam into B's back. Just get on with the second exams, said the Raikage as everyone's sweat dropped.